Hey, Alma here with AbFab Paper Emporium with another DIY Right in our D.I.RIGHT series, because if you're going to DIY, you want to make sure you DI right, right? Well, I know your time is short, so let's get with it. So this video is 5 not so obvious tips for composing your wedding invitation when you're doing it yourself. But it can also be called, do not make these 5 mistakes if you're gonna do it on your own. Here are our 5 tips. Number 5. Number 5 may not seem too important, but believe me, your guest will think it's very important. Number 5 is, keep your wedding invitation readable. Make it easy on the eye. Nowadays, there are tons of beautiful, just gorgeous fonts and calligraphy styles that everybody is coming up with. But sometimes they can get really hard to read, and you would like to offer your guests the courtesy of being able to understand what it is they're being invited to, who it is that's getting married, and just exactly where and when they have to show up. So try not to go all out crazy and make your wedding invitation look so gorgeous but totally unreadable. And find a happy medium between a gorgeous font and some readable text. Try mixing it up a little bit like this and make it just a little bit easier for your guests to be able to read and understand, and they'll appreciate you very much for it. Number 4, don't abbreviate. Don't abbreviate things like state, street, the actual word street, the word lane, avenue. Don't abbreviate on your wedding invitation, but spell those words out completely. R-O-A-D instead of R-D. Number 3, no zip codes. This is a mistake I see done so often, I can't even begin to count the times that I see a zip code on a wedding invitation. Zip codes were made specifically for the post office to deliver an envelope to a particular location, thus the zip code. Your wedding invitation ceremony or reception is inside of an envelope, and the post office will never see it. So there is no need for a zip code inside your wedding invitation.
Zip code. 5 trailblazing numbers like this one launch every piece of mail with space-age speed and precision.
Now that's easy to say and it sounds just fine, but let's put this question right on the line. What is the zip code? A postal quirk? What does it do? How does it work? If you'll lend an ear, we'll be glad to explain how the zip code eases your postal pain.
The first digit tells in which part of the nation your letter will find its destination. Since the country's divided into 10 big sections, each with a number to establish direction, before your letter has even departed, we've already got it started.
The next 2 digits go hand in hand to a major post office over land. Since each big section has town after town,
we need these numbers to really narrow things down. We've got the section, we've got the city. Just 2 more numbers and we're sitting pretty.
These last 2 digits are really specific.
they're your local post office number. Terrific!
What a system. As you can plainly see, just 5 little numbers, quick as can be. But if you have a question or you have a doubt, if you're still not sure what the whole thing's about, just always remember, zip code defined
Means city to city in one straight line.
Number 2, the bride's name is always listed first. whenever you list your couple's names, the bride's name comes before the groom's name. Super, super important and an absolute necessity for wedding invitation protocol. Number 1, use the last names of the couple when composing your wedding invitation. This is currently a trend that I'm seeing popping up all over the place on wedding invitations. And it stems from the trend of using the names of the couple as a design element. However, when that shift was being made, when wedding invitations began to use these beautiful, gorgeous names as design elements, they also, underneath in the body of the text, included the full names of the bride and groom. But now we're seeing a trend of designers popping in and creating these gorgeous designs. However, they're using that design element as the body of the text. And what we're doing is we're losing last names. Why this is significant and why this is important is because, number 1, when you're sending out wedding invitations, you're generally sending out invitations to a large group of people. And many times you won't be very, very close to the individuals who will be your invited guests. Sometimes it will be friends of parents. Sometimes it will be co-workers, or they can be friends of your fiance who you don't necessarily know that well. So when those guests are receiving the invitation and they're only seeing first names, they could possibly not know who the invitation is for, whose wedding this is, because there are no last names. So you want to make sure that you do add that into your wedding invitation when you're composing it. Another reason that you want to make sure that you do put in last names is because you want to look at your wedding invitation as a historical document. This invitation will be passed down through the ages, very likely. It will go to your children. It will go to your relatives. Here is an example of my grandparents' wedding invitation. We look at it as a historical document. It's when my grandmother and my grandfather got married. So likewise with you, even though you're just thinking of this as your event, your wedding, in the future, you will have ancestors which will actually be prizing this wedding invitation. And you'll want to have your full names on it, your last names at least, on the invitation for the historical recording of the event. And so there we are, your 5 not so obvious tips for composing your wedding invitations. And remember, if you're going to DIY, make sure you DI right. And remember, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that it'll help us on the algorithm, and then you'll get notified whenever we post new videos. Until then,